Britain, present.
John.
John Voboril, Senior Planner.
Mel England, Sustainability Coordinator.
We got online.
Michael Chisholm, co-chair, and welcome to our guests. Hope you have an enjoyable, enlightening visit here this evening. Who else we have?
Cara.
Cara?
Cara.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cara.
Cara Frangipani, present.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Patrick's on to Mike and then Tiana.
I'm sorry again.
Hello. Patrick Fitzgerald, present.
I'm trying to cut people off here. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think we're good.
Are we good now?
Yeah.
I'm racing. Slow me down.
Efficiency.
Okay. All right. Interesting meeting tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Again, welcome to our guests. We need to approve the minutes from last meeting. Any discussion, corrections, concerns on the minutes? Hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, thank you. Okay. Upcoming tasks. First thing is communication subcommittee. We got 15 minutes. Logan and the rest of the committee, feel free to speak. Logan, why don't you start it off?
I'm just a mouthpiece. Patrick, Cara, and Tracy were all fantastic. We had our last subcommittee meeting on the 25th. So we found out that we had missed the deadline for the winter magazine, right? We talked about that last month. That said, we did some shifting around and we're looking at what content we want to have in the spring quarterly newsletter. And so we talked through and distilled that down really to three points. We don't want to overload. Let me back up. We're really excited. We have half a page. We got half a page approved in the magazine. That's huge.
That is huge.
Big first step.
Thank you.
Really
Good
looking
show.
forward to that.
Good show.
So the world's our oyster. So we started, a logical place to start is first time in the magazine, intro blurb, quick couple sentences on the Sustainability Commission, why we exist. And maybe, I really like the idea from Rick and Mike last month about adding a QR code on there to always link to our engaged page, right?
Okay.
So Mel, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be incumbent upon us to draft some of the content and then we send that to the comms team.
No, so if you guys want something
You
in
guys do that.
the magazine, you guys will draft it, whatever you want in
Yep.
there, and then I'll submit it on your behalf to our communications team.
Cool. I think that's what we talked about, right? That was in line. Okay, so that's the process. So I'm happy to, we probably should have divided and conquered on our call. I'm happy to put together a couple, hi Christine, sentences as far as an intro. This is what we do and who we are kind of paragraph. So that's one. So let me label that Logan. Second, which we talked about at previous meeting, is the Denver Audubon Society's, it's their City Nature Challenge. So you have sort of a multifaceted half page. You've got a piece that's intro, we have community involvement, and then a DIY piece. So I'd like to try and do that in each, have some variation there. But the first piece is the Denver Audubon Society City Nature Event. So you're engaging the community. The only barrier is you do have to download an app, which is in today's age not really a barrier. It's called iNaturalist. Cara, I have you as point person on this. I'll give you the mic for a second if you're there and want to speak to the dates for the challenge, potentially where we want to host it. And then I would volunteer you to maybe draft a few sentences about that. And we can go from there.
Yeah, totally. City Nature Challenge. I know you guys have heard it a few times now. Just a little friendly competition among the Denver metro area, just to log as much nature, activity as you can in the app. It's from April 26th to April 29th, 2024. And I think we'd like to host a little day over at Depot Park to kind of get some interest and pass some information on about it. So that's what we're thinking.
How can we promote this, Mel? Is this something that we can throw on social media or maybe even in like a newsletter or something? I mean, other than this newsletter.
Yeah, I can do, or if someone on the commission wants to do a write-up, probably Cara, if you know it the best. And then I could submit it to the communications team to try to get it out on their social media for the challenge.
That'd be awesome. Just like a 1-2 punch. Then the spring newsletter comes out. I just downloaded the app. It was that easy. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Any thoughts on that sort of community involvement nature challenge? I think it's a fun piece to put in our first half page. What's up, Mike?
On the April 26th to 29th,
Is that a weekend?
question probably to Cara. I know there were different possibilities for education, awareness. We wouldn't have to decide tonight, but I'm wondering, could we sponsor, or maybe you're already thinking about this, a topic such as pollinator gardens, sustainability, a woman we spoke with, I forget her name, I apologize. Anyways, it's interesting to think there's a window of a few days in there. Maybe we could put some activities into those days.
I really like that idea.
And maybe you were already thinking that way, but
Yeah.
if this is going to be like one of our few chances, maybe we could jam pack it.
I like the idea.
You could think about it.
Tracy, thoughts?
I mean, one thing would be to bring this to Inglewood schools and try to get a voice there to get it, maybe as a challenge within the school. Just being a former teacher,
Cool.
it would be a really cool thing to do. And I'd be happy to take that on and contact.
I like it.
schools.
Get some youth involvement.
Are there
That idea.
Earth Day events like the week before that we're
Is there Earth Day the
already-
week before, Matthew?
I'm not sure. I thought it
Mel,
was August
Earth Day
20th-ish.
date.
Well, Earth Day would be the 20th.
So that's the Saturday prior to this.
I don't know if we're doing anything this year, but we are.
We could use it as a launch. We could use Earth Day as a launch pad to further say, hey, come to Depot. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good thinking.
Great.
Cara, any other thoughts there?
I love that idea. I love Tracy's idea to get the schools involved. And I would love to, see something happen from that. So, and we've got a little bit of time to kind of think about it and map something out. But I think we should definitely go in that direction.
Love it. I'll put Cara and Tracy for follow-up outreach. We can lock that down and finalize. So back up 10,000 foot. What we're doing is I'm laying out sort of the big picture content of what we'd like on this half page, and we would need to vote to approve that this evening, just so we're all
Or there
aware
can
of what
even
we're
be
doing.
a general consensus. The commission just as a whole needs to be on the same page with what communications you all would want to get out.
Cool, that's perfect. Okay, so you have intro blurb, who we are, what we're doing, Audubon Society Nature Challenge. Sounds like we have some outreach to schools, maybe Earth Day launch pad, really get some good awareness around this, and Mel can put it on some social media as we get closer. Third, and this was a topic that I'd like to discuss with the commission per Mel, was I thought the third piece timely would be the turf replacement grant that has rolled out, and there will be a second round going out around this time. So why not plug turf replacement? And then Mel told me, well, the city's already doing some work on this front. Do you want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah, so we already submitted a grant to the state to get that grant funding that we got last year again this year, but this would actually help us over double our reach. Last year we helped around 12 homes, and this would help us reach 30 to 31. if we got it. And I talked to Resource Central about when that would actually, we'd be able to promote that. If we get the grant and go through with it, we could start promoting as early as January, actually, for folks to get on the wait list, so it wouldn't have to be that long of a wait.
When will money go out to applicants?
That's through Resource Central, so they're our party that goes through it, and it really just goes on a basis of the program's open, a resident is interested in getting that up to $500 rebate, they go through them, and then that's how they do it. But all the finance, money going out the door thing is through Resource Central.
It sounded like from your email to me that the city's going to be pushing this, public education wise. I still think it would be, why not just continue to hammer this and have that be the third piece in the newsletter? But I don't want to cross whatever the city had planned already. If we could just support what they're putting out.
And I think that would already be, at least on my to-do list of getting that out there anyways.
And if that's going out in January, this is a few months removed. It's just kind of a refresher. Okay, this money exists, this grant is available, apply here. And then testimony. I know, microphone, Tracy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, even having a photo
Mm-hmm.
would be awesome. I know there was an applicant that there was a video taken.
Yes, we got a video, an interview with them, and photos.
Okay.
Can we use it?
I think that would be a really cool thing to add to
Yeah.
that section. I'd be happy to take a photo of my yard since I was one of the recipients. And I'm loving it. It's just a work in progress, but I get, people stop all the time when I'm working up front and I get to talk about what I'm doing. And so I think the visual part would be huge to add to that
Okay,
half page.
That's a great idea.
I love the idea. It sounds like we have options
That's
too.
cool.
Can
I think
use.
having, anything visual you put in an ad, people's eyes go to.
Yes,
Okay, just
that's
have
right.
listed things, it's different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a word wall. Want to avoid that. Those are the big three. Any feedback, anything that we might have missed that's just pressing in this first half page that we get? I mean, it was tough to narrow down. Sure. To 3 different things. Cara, what's up?
I do want to, so Tracy and I met with the woman over at, Tracy, help me out, I'm like totally blanking.
It's Table Urban
Oh, yeah.
Farm.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
just south of Evans on Platte River Drive.
Mhm.
Yeah, we met with her a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have, it's just super cool what they're doing over there. They've got about 4 farms that they tend to throughout the city, but then they've also got the sort of community piece where members of the community grow vegetables to be, donated or contributed to this community produce giveaway, basically. They have a big harvest party coming up this weekend. If anybody is interested, on the 14th from 3 to 7, just to check it out. But I think, if there's a way for us to do something, with them, they do a seed giveaway on Earth Day, as well as like a plant giveaway. So it might be cool to, kind of help out with that, if there's room to. And yeah, I don't know. I think, if we can figure out a way to get the community involved with some, social gardening, I think that'd be great. Tiana, I know you've got your hand raised. You've got some experience with this organization.
Hey, yeah, they were really great to work with, and they just actually came and harvested from our front yard garden with them, and they said they got 57 pounds of peppers from and lettuce from our spot. So yeah, it was really cool.
Super cool. So Tracy, I don't know, like if you have more to add, thoughts about that meeting.
Yeah, I walked away very inspired. She's she was very excited about trying to partner with the city of Inglewood. Because
What's her name?
obviously it's, right now it's in Denver.
Yeah.
The actual restaurant is. But as Tiana said, I mean, there's plots everywhere. They don't actually own any land. It's just finding land that people are willing to donate, basically. I know this coming up here, one thing that she said is it was just too much for them to try to go to all the different properties. And so they're gonna put more ownership on the homeowners if they wanna be involved, and they're gonna call them farmettes. So I'm like, yes, I'll be a farmette. So that way it's more on that, the homeowner.
Yeah, sure.
And so they don't have to bring people out and be like, hey, I'm gonna come on to your property and.
It can get dicey. So my understanding, so does Tiana have a garden in her,
Yeah.
on her property,
Mhm.
and they come and harvest?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Interesting, yeah.
Any piece of land that you have,
Yeah.
they can turn into production for people that are hungry. So it's.
So what would be our action, if we have the space, would be a plug for what, we call it TPH does in their program?
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, and I think when we get more information on the Farmette program, because I know she was working on like an application process for that. And I think, once she has that a little more fine tuned, I think if we could plug the Farmette opportunity, that would be awesome.
That's fantastic. And I'll put that on to both of you to keep that line of communication open and let us know, maybe at our November meeting, how y'all's conversations are going. Have they been able to streamline and get this Farmette program up and running? And I think there's interest here for us to partner with them on that, whether that's, a plug in the newsletter or giving part of our yard.
That's great.
What else? Any additional thoughts for the spring newsletter? Or a general, okay, it's fine too.
Can I take a call for consensus? Is it generally agreed that this is all okay? And
Oh, I don't know.
you don't know?
The
Thanks
naysayer of the group.
all of you out in cyberland, are you all comfortable with consensus? Let's take it forward. We like the direction this is going.
Yes.
Okay, we'll call it a consensus then.
We'll call it a consensus.
Thank you.
Just to recap, and I know we're over
Yeah,
time for me.
please do.
I will handle the intro blurb, and Sinette, I will collect content from Cara and Tracy on the nature challenge and a blurb there. On the turf replacement, maybe I can work with you, Tracy, and Mel to make sure that that looks good. We'll get a photo, whether that's your yard or we can recreate.
Just have me lead the turf replacement one. The city already has a lot of data and a lot of stuff on that, so I'll just take it.
Great, just Mel.
But Tracy, I think having a quote from you would be great if you were a participant and a sustainability commission member. That's just a great two for
Yep.
yourself.
That was my thought. Tracy pick. And then we'll get follow-up from the both of you on Table Public House updates next month.
Thank
That's all.
you, guys. Great work.
Yeah, thanks,
Great
Mike.
work. Good show. Okay, let's move on. John, is it Voboril? Am I saying it right? John has a presentation for us. So thank you for coming, John, and we are all anxiously awaiting to hear your words of wisdom. Take it away.
All right. Just to introduce myself again, John Voboril, Senior Long Range Planner in the Community Development Department. And just want to start out by kind of stating the obvious that today we have a great challenge in terms of transit in today's post-COVID world. If you look around and you take a look at this light rail park and ride up here, it used to be before the pandemic, almost totally full. And today it probably is about 15% full. When you look at buses and who's on there and how full of these cars, and they seem very, very empty. And all the numbers are way down. We're probably at like 40% of where we were originally. And there's a lot of reasons to that. Some of it is cuts to service. One of the RTD has real problems retaining people to work and hire new people. That's one of the issues. There's still fear of COVID. You could still pick it up. Ironically, I have ridden the light rail during the pandemic, though, and there was only one other person on the car on the far end. That was the definition of social distancing, but there's still a fear of that. And of course, people are working at home now, which we didn't have before at this extent, and so people have kind of lost their habits of taking transit, and they're either working at home or driving. That being said, there's some opportunities that we're trying to look at to try to address these issues and try to eventually get back to where we were. And two of these opportunities, one of them is before you, with the amount I wrote the memo on, which is the Arapahoe County countywide microtransit and mobility study. And then the second one I'm going to plug also that I didn't mention in the memo is the other thing is RTD is starting a more of a localized model of funding local services. It used to be all top down. You had to apply for it, get a federal grant, and put in lots of your own money. But RTD has a certain pot of money that they got from the federal government that they've decided to put towards local services, and they've divided up the metro into 4 different sub areas, and we're in the southwest group. And we were successful in applying for some of this pot of money for our trolley system, and we will be getting $200,000 for each year for the next 3 years. And we are at this point ready to go out with an RFP for a new service provider, and we are wanting to price out a lot of different new things to add to our trolley service that we don't have today. And some of those things are like longer hours so that we can service the hospitals better. And then this possibility of Saturday service, which we have never provided, but we've seen some anecdotes from some other communities where that's been pretty popular. So those are kind of the 2 immediate things we're looking at, and maybe even we'll ask them to do an on-demand possibly as well.
Hey, John, can you tell us a little bit about the trolley at a 10,000 foot level, its current footprint, its current ridership?
Sure. So the trolley system was envisioned shortly after the light rail line was put in place. And it was the thinking is how can we connect our major employers that we have along the linear Hampton Avenue corridor all the way to the hospitals to get them back and forth to the light rail. So that was one of the major populations that we wanted to focus on as commuters to those employment centers. Also, the possibility of people during the day moving about for lunch and shopping in those employment centers. And then also we have a population of, we have these senior housing projects in downtown Inglewood where people are heavily transit dependent as well. So those are kind of our audiences at the time. I think in terms of ridership before the pandemic, I think we were reaching something like on the order of 16,000 riders per month. But we're probably down to half of that. So that's what we're suffering that too. And so we're going after that grant money. We got that grant money from RTD to look to see if we can do some more things with our trolley service. But also this other opportunity came up where Arapahoe County was thinking the same thing. We need to look at how we can provide transit better in the county. And they went out and got this really, really large grant. This is very large, $1.45 million. $450,000 would go to the actual study with about $1 million left over for potential pilot projects. And so that was something interesting to us as well, is if we involve ourselves with just a little bit of money, $16,000 for the study, then we can be eligible for the pilot project funding later on. Yeah, and so, I wanted to ask a question about the trolley. How many people in the room have occasionally ridden the trolley once in a blue moon? How many people have?
Twice.
Twice, yeah.
All right. Has anybody in this room ever ridden it monthly? Okay. Yeah, so that probably means that you don't probably work down here, and it doesn't go by your house where you live out, down south or up north. So it doesn't affect you. But so one of the things that we've noticed through talking to some of our communities locally, especially down in Lone Tree, is that they once had a fixed route service, but they've gone this year to a on-demand service, which is something relatively new in the transit world. But there's a lot of companies that have become really experts in this, and so it's something that's kind of the cutting edge, but something that's relatively new. But it's different in the fact that the way it works is you, whenever you decide I need to go somewhere, you contact them through the web app, or you can even call, and within, then the trolley is routed to where you are within about 15 minutes, and then it will take you to. It can take you to not just only one place, but multiple places through your community. And so we think that could be a real game changer if we would like to keep the fixed route, because we think there's a lot of benefit to the employers and the people who live along that route and the commuters. But what if we could add this on-demand concept as well, as an addition to that fixed route, and we could start serving everybody in Inglewood, and maybe even outside of Inglewood, maybe even Sheridan people. And then maybe you're living over, like I used to live at Oxford and Galapago until recently, until I got married. Maybe not, there's no trolley service there now, but what if I wanted to go out to dinner downtown Inglewood in the evening with some longer hours, and I could call up and they'd come get me, take me down there. I could have a few drinks and not worry about drinking and driving, and take me back home. And there's a lot of people in Inglewood that this could probably benefit, older seniors that need to get to their medical appointments or shopping. And the way our trolley is today, it's free. I don't know if they'll, maybe the on-demand portion maybe there will be costs. I don't know. But when you think about gas prices, how high those are, and if the price is relatively low, you might think twice about, people like their cars, but if this is convenient enough and the price is low enough, it's a game changer. So and then the other portion of the countywide micromobility and transit and micromobility study, the other thing that we're very interested in is the possibility of the scooters and the shared bicycles. And that's something that's been around for a while, but there's been a lot of, and we kind of anticipated this, that there would be a lot of changes going on and a lot of lessons learned, and that sure is how it happened. Aurora was the pioneer in this, but as I understand it, those services have all abandoned Aurora because it just wasn't they couldn't make a go of it. But it's really been successful in urban Denver, and so I think we'd like to learn more through this study about what will work and what won't, and get some pointers and some recommendations for us to go forward as a city, and hopefully introduce some similar programs here. And with that, I think I've run out of things to say at this point. I guess the other thing I'll say is that we're getting it's a little bit slow to get this study going. There's always these contracting issues. All these contracts go through CDOT, and it's really slow getting started. But we're hoping to get started before the end of this year, and the study will probably take a year. If that
John, what do you need from us? Why are you here?
I was informed that there was a real interest in this topic, and it was a timely topic that some things are going on. So it's really kind of more informational, I think, to tell you what we're doing, and we're hoping. And there's going to be a really robust public participation process in all this because there's lots of money. So we're hoping to have your involvement as well.
And I will say last meeting, you all said you wanted to talk about micromobility and e-bikes and everything. So this was just the most perfect time to do that.
I will own that. I'm super interested.
Is there any, in this study, any analysis of the impact of these e-bike grants that are going on in Denver statewide now too?
Sure. I think that there'll be recommendations they'll identify pots of money to go after, and as well as recommendations of how to operate them and maybe who to partner with, whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
What's the expected completion date of this study?
I'm going to say it's probably going to be a year. So if we get started late this year, it'll probably wrap up before Christmas next year.
Would a product of this study potentially be a city-run e-bike grant program that mirrors something like Denver's had?
Yes, I think that's what we're interested in, and I think our downtown. So part of this money is being paid out by the Downtown Development Authority, and so they're interested in this too. And so yeah, we'd like to do that. We think we're interested in promoting downtown. And this could be a great way to do that. We think we're seeing new employers coming downtown that have a younger employment workforce, and we think this would be really appealing to them.
Cara has her hand raised, just so you all know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, no, I love this idea, and I think it would be really awesome to see the trolley expand to some of the areas that are not directly on the line of public transportation, and to facilitate those neighborhoods to get easier access, like to the light rail. And so for folks who work downtown, if they can take the trolley to the light rail, get downtown. When I lived in Miami for a while, and there was a trolley that went up and down Main Street and took us to the light rail, and I did that for years without owning a vehicle, to get to an office downtown from a suburb of Miami, and it was just awesome. And I think if there's an opportunity to even expand, say like along the Broadway corridor, that would be awesome as well, to maybe connect to some other neighboring cities, if that's an option.
Thank you.
What you got?
I'm just thinking, I was just looking at the map over here on the wall, and up there on the hills, that's one of our lowest income areas of town that maybe is most in need of more public transit, but it seems I know that part of town kind of gets ignored sometimes, so I don't know what kind of impact this could have on them, especially if it was a route that they could call and get access to downtown Inglewood. I don't know. I think that I wonder if a communications piece, like if there's going to be some expansion of the trolley communications piece that specifically targets those lower income areas to make sure they benefit from it.
Yeah, and the other one is the southwest tail, not as low income, but but they also seem to be more isolated from the larger Inglewood community, and that would be nice to get them involved, get them down here too as well.
John, just ideas, some of these may be redundant. It'd be really cool if we had electric trolleys instead of diesel belching trolleys. It'd be really cool if you had that on-demand service that you talked about. And I can say this because I'm old. It'd be cool if you had like a gray-haired special to restaurants. I mean, think about it. So we seniors who have no problem eating dinner at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and I know you've got a schedule, but if you could coordinate that for, say, the restaurant district in Englewood, that I could call the bus at 5, have dinner, and also get a ride home at 6:30. So just an idea to spread that around. And we do have 2 light rail stations, and if you thought of Dartmouth and Oxford, you almost have a circular route through a big bulk of Englewood. And I can tell you, I live near Dartmouth. The traffic on Dartmouth is busy, and it seems to be getting busier. So that's good news, bad news, depending on how you look at it. But there's a whole lot of cars, and I think Oxford's experiencing the same thing. So again, plug that into your planning. I would just ask that you consider that.
Thank you. John, can I ask a logistics question about this process, and you probably thought through this? If this trolley is making a route, which is basically, it sounds like an east-west route, correct, right now-ish, how would additional on-demand services affect the predictability of that and the usefulness of, that? Again, I'm just wondering how far that would stretch.
Sure. So yes, if we want to keep our fixed route service, we really don't want to degrade it. So I think we've thought about that as well politically as well. And we know that from our past experience that there's a lot of people who rely on the service as it is and are very invested in it. And so we do not want to upset the apple cart and promote some new on-demand service at the expense of that fixed route. And actually, we want to make the fixed route better than it is today. So we right now it doesn't really serve the medical staff at the hospitals, like the online nurses. That doesn't serve them very well because they have such long shifts. And we recognize we need longer hours. And then we also would like to, if possible, get the headways, the time you wait down as well. So our first priority is to really in this grant that we got from RT is to enhance what we have today. And then if we can do all that and we still have some capacity left over to add the experimental on-demand portion as well. So we can do both communities justice. So, and then and we're also looking at some other potential funding sources, such as potential so we have a bunch of apartment complexes that are either have just recently been built or are going to be built. And we're thinking about how we might be able to tap into them to get money to support these services as well. So that's another idea. We don't want to degrade what we have today. We want to keep supporting those vulnerable populations.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You go first. How much does the trolley cost to operate this year? You said you got $200,000 for 3 years. Does that cover the cost of the service?
No, that'll be in addition to, because the city puts in a fair amount of money as well, and always has, out of just the city's budget.
And around 200,000 or more.
It's in that range somewhere.
I thought it was closer to 300.
Okay, you remember the numbers better than me. Yeah, so I'm not quite as involved in the I'm absolutely not involved in the day-to-day, but I'm only involved in ideas for the future.
Thank you.
So, but yeah, so that will continue, I'm sure. If we want to keep the service up at the levels that I'm describing, the city is going to have to keep contributing. We probably are going to have to find other sources like RTD to up their game a bit, which they are this time around, and then maybe some other supporting from the private sector as well.
Thanks.
John, I saw in your memo that the study could include first and last mile bicycle improvements on Dartmouth and Oxford. Can you talk a little more about that?
Okay, well, I think what I was alluding to in the memo was more about, here's what we have kind of done as a city, that we've been active in these transit improvement type planning projects. So as you may know, that Oxford and Dartmouth in the recent years have received bicycle lanes. Now there are bigger plans in the future. The ultimate plans for those two streets would be to create these cycle tracks that would have these permanent protective barriers between the cars and the cyclists. These are going to be very expensive, though.
Are they concrete or are they the pollards?
We haven't designed it really necessarily yet, so I couldn't really say what that will look like particularly, because there's a lot of different ways you can do it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Big cost difference too.
Yeah. So we have a lot of other bicycle projects that we need to probably tackle before that. I think the highest priority right now, of course, the Hampton Avenue, the East Hampton Avenue project, they're looking to get a consultant and design consultant on board for that project. We're also, the other big project is going to be the Sherman Street neighborhood community bicycle boulevard. So those are kind of the most pressing priorities for our bicycle projects in the next few years. But we do have dreams for the cycle tracks eventually.
That fed into my next question. You were mentioning the study might look into scooters. I would think if we didn't use the same companies as Denver, the scooters wouldn't be as useful because you would have to stop your scooter, go find another one, then continue on if you were going between Denver and Inglewood. I guess that's a comment. But then I wonder if your plan could look at coupling any sort of considerations of scooters with more bike lanes and bike paths, because we know that if you're walking on a sidewalk, you're not going to want a scooter racing past you. And we know that if you're in a car, you're not going to be wanting to sit behind a scooter going 5 miles an hour. And you know that if you're on a scooter, you're not going to want to be hit by a car.
Yeah.
And it seems like the only way to fix that is more bike lanes, which frankly, almost all of Inglewood doesn't have. I mean, we have a handful of bike lanes, but almost every street doesn't. So do you think that that could be considered in part of the study?
Well, I think, yeah, I'm sure that they will look at that, our bicycle network, when they make the recommendations. And that would be very interesting too, because I think where we really see probably where the demand is going to be for these shared bicycles and scooters are going to be in these busy parts of town. It's going to be between the light rail and the hospitals primarily, and probably up and down Broadway. So maybe there'll be some demand to go from downtown Inglewood to downtown Littleton. That's where I'm thinking where we'll see the demand. And so maybe there will be some recommendations about that too. How could this be made safer in these high stress areas?
John, another idea that I forgot to mention. I have a friend who lives in Aurora, rides RTD, and he has medical conditions, so he's always going to UC Health. RTD drives him crazy because many times the bus leaves the bus stop before it's supposed to. Shame on the driver. Lyft and Uber have a really cool app that if I call Lyft, I know my car is 10 minutes away, or I know where it's coming. That's a cool technology. So whatever you do, it'd be really neat if I was riding either the standard trolley route or if I was doing the on-demand, to know that my ride is over on Dartmouth and it's about 3 minutes away. I mean, reliability is so critical to mass transit.
A few years ago, I was at CU Denver going to school, and I would ride the Zero every day from Inglewood up Broadway.
Okay.
Used to, the RTD app would pretty well do that.
Really?
It's become a lot clunkier in the last
Yeah.
couple of years.
I mean, the technology is there, and it would just help everybody if you could go to your phone and it's 10 minutes away, or it's an hour away, and at least I know.
I think the technology is there. If we can just have some upkeep and maybe some technological improvements to what exists, that would be super helpful. Second that, Mike. Good thought.
What are you picturing would be the biggest differences between on-demand and Uber and Lyft? I'm getting the sense maybe it would be free to have on-demand, and maybe you could call them up instead of needing to do an app.
Yeah, some of the providers, well, one of the providers in Lone Tree, the provider there does have a call-in option, which we think would be nice for people who aren't savvy, technologically savvy. Yeah, the pricing, I don't know, but historically the city has considered putting a price to the trolley, but every time has decided, nope, we want it to be free. And so most likely it would be either, I would think, and I'm just speculating, but most likely we would probably try to keep it free or at a very minimal charge. And so it would be less expensive than Uber and Lyft.
That'd be great, because their surge pricing has been outrageous or like criminal lately. How would that be subsidized if we wanted to keep it?
Yes, so the city's got a big role to play, and the city may have to step up a little bit more. And then also, we've also thought about, just as I was saying, how we might get some other private property, large private property owners whose tenants might really benefit from this in this area, and how could they contribute a little bit more? And the hospitals, they have some pretty big pockets too. So, so yeah. And then we have this Downtown Development Authority, and they have money too from their TIF,
That's right,
tax financing budget. So they're helping us out with the study, and we expect to partner with them on other projects like this.
So we're at time, but just FYI. Last question. So in the memo, does the combined 16,000, does that lock us into the study?
We
Did I understand that correctly?
We are locked. Our council approved the IGA, and so we're all good to go. And yes, we are a full formalized partner in the study.
I'm excited.
Very good. Any other thoughts? Great questions, y'all. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
That was insightful.
Carry on. We're excited. If we can be of help, ask.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever that might be.
Letter of support, so
Yeah.
unsolicited opinions, happy to give all of that.
Okay.
Okay, where are we, Mel, on this agenda?
You're on holiday light judging.
Okay.
So Mike wanted me to give some
Go ahead.
history on the holiday light judging. So prior to 2021, the Sustainability Commission was the Keep Englewood Beautiful Commission, really focused on beautification of the city. And that commission did holiday light judging, which essentially at the end of the year, residents and businesses can do decorate their place, and they submit it, and then folks go around and judge who is the winner. The Keep Englewood Beautiful Commission was the one that always did that. And the Sustainability Commission, when it got transferred over, just got grandfathered into being the right of first refusal commission to do it. Each year you all get to vote if you want to keep doing it or not. I will say if you vote not to do it, there are people to do it. It's not like you're voting no. If you all decide to vote no and that no one will do it, it would likely go to the neighborhood resource leads through Madeline Hinkvis's program. So it's just deciding if you all want to do it or not.
Tracy, what's up?
What does voting entail?
So great question. I should have gone over that. So voting entails for the December meeting, typically they're cut a little short to give folks a time. We go on, I heard one year it was the Englewood Trolley.
I think we were on the trolley the first year I did it. Yeah.
The last year we definitely were not on the Englewood Trolley. It was an Englewood band, so it's still festive. And then you get driven around to the places that submit that they have lights up, and there's like a score criteria sheet, and you go through it and vote, and that's how it's fun. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. If I could just call me the Grinch. My thoughts about this the last, year or two. Do we want to continue to take this on? I think it's fun. It's not exactly the most sustainable thing to be judging. We're on the trolley judging the use of electricity. Just want to put that into the space for consideration. Call me the Grinch.
I have the same thoughts. It sounds like a lot of fun, and it doesn't necessarily sound like it fits in with our mission, especially since there's a lot we want to get done.
Right.
But it does sound like a good fit for the neighborhood coordinator program.
Historical or something, something that maybe is more.
I thought Madeline would run with this.
I agree.
Blast.
I think that group would.
There's sort of mumbling going on.
I think it's consensus mumbling.
I see
Tiana, what's?
Somebody speak a little louder
Sorry.
and either agree or disagree with giving it to Madeline, please.
Tiana, what's up?
I hear what you guys are saying. It's not the most sustainable, but I think it sounds fun, and also it's kind of the Sustainability Commission's name is on it, so it's like kind of advertising for us too. So I think I like it as an idea just because it sounds fun for that aspect.
Maybe I'm wrong. From what I know, the Sustainability Commission name isn't.
Oh, can we put it on?
I think that if you guys want to keep it and keep the name on there, I'm sure communications doesn't mind one way or another.
Extra points for sustainability.
Yeah.
Do say that again. Tiana.
Extra points for if you use solar and it's sustainable life.
We had that discussion last year. If we really embrace this as a committee, then it should have the spin of sustainability in there somewhere. But if we just do it as a fun thing, or kind of create a little Christmas party atmosphere around it for our committee or something, that's a different game.
Mel, is it possible for us to not own it, but to support it? In other words, if we were to give it to another group or another group of volunteers, anybody on sustainability is welcome to get on the bus and judge Christmas lights. Is there a polite way or a supportive way for us to let go of it and encourage somebody else to run with the ball? I mean, I don't want to offend people. I don't want to be Grinch either. I'm pretty much of the school of thought that it's Christmas. Everybody wants to have fun. I get that. I have more than a small reservation about the Sustainability Commission owning it, I guess is my opinion. But I don't want to make waves either. So.
Those were the mumblings on this side.
That was what we.
I guess I'm a mumbler. I guess I'm part of it.
I was totally mumbling, but I agree. It was a lot of fun last year, but to me, it doesn't fit with what we're supposed to be all about. And so I would be a Grinch this year.
We really tried to stretch it last year, though. We're like, maybe that's LED.
Yeah, we had an LED component.
All this plastic out in the lawn is recycled plastic.
Tiana's shaking her head going, what are they doing?
Shall we vote?
Yes.
the vote thing?
Is it our,
It is
what's
a-
fair?
It's a
What-
vote thing.
So you have to vote, yeah, so vote if the Sustainability Commission wants to judge the 2023 light contest.
All right, and as chairperson, I'd say let's bring it to a vote. All those in favor of maintaining, quote, ownership of Christmas tree light judging, say aye. All
Aye.
those. All those who are not opposed but would graciously allow someone else to take ownership of the project, say aye. Aye. I believe the ayes have it. I think we would like to hand off to another group. And certainly, we're all invited to join in if we want to join in.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
More the merrier, I'm voting on the thing.
Is that just for 2023, or could we also vote on future? Can we discuss future years at this
Is that a
point?
separate issue?
Do we have to
feel like
make
we
I
this?
just-
feel like if
every
you pass it
single
on to
October?
somebody else,
I
it's
feel like we
theirs.
just wash our
Yeah,
hands of
I
it.
think it could just be
So-
like a pass on.
That'd be great, that'd be great.
We threw it up in the air.
I think it's passed on in perpetuity.
Okay.
So, okay, are there voting criteria? Like, this is the best, like,
There are,
you know, there's like line items of them.
yes.
Can we add a sustainability component to the voting?
My thing with that is how, you know, are you gonna stop at each house and see how many
That's true.
LEDs are? Because when you go on the bus, you drive by, you look at it really quick and you go.
So they don't bring in a description of their.
No, it's
like
all
what they-
visual. It's all
It's not a
visual.
bad idea, though.
It's first
To
impression.
submit a description.
Yeah.
Knowing the voting criteria, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
It's,
We'll just bring it up in the leadership, neighborhood leadership.
That's a really
Since I'm
great
on
idea,
that,
do that.
yeah.
it is the most totally subjective evaluation
It's
you'll
great.
ever see.
And to reiterate, it is a lot of fun.
It is fun,
It's a
yeah.
good time. Yeah, so we're voting
To
for
ride on
something
the
fun
van
right
and
out of it.
go.
Okay.
Mel gets his pizza, that's great.
All right, may we move on?
Onward.
Mel, can you give us a tree protection ordinance goes in front of city council?
Yeah, so here are just some quick city updates. So your tree protection and ordinance memo was already sent to city council. That's gonna go in front of them on November 6th. Mike is gonna be there just to give them a high overview of what's in the memo and to answer any questions. Evan Anderson is also gonna be there, if they have any specific urban forester questions within there as well. Another update is that I'm not sure, who knows, maybe everyone does, but in January 1st, 2024, styrofoam, this is a state ban, goes into effect. So the city, while I think this is a huge win, there's also a huge fear that I have of small businesses that maybe are not ready for this or do not know that this is coming. And so the city is partnering with the Chamber of Commerce to host an event on November 2nd. It's open to any business that wants to come. If you know one in Englewood that uses styrofoam, please let them know about it. I'll have more information once we have the official Eventbrite. I'll send it out to you all. We're gonna have Spanish interpretation there, and we're gonna pick a second language once we know which one will be the most beneficial for the community, whether that's Chinese, Vietnamese, and they can ask questions. And at that event, we're also gonna have someone from the Colorado Restaurant Association. So it's just a really great event for them to come, get resources and ask questions about this ban that will probably 100% affect them. We also have the annual leaf event that's gonna happen at the end of October, bleeding a little bit into November. Volunteers might be needed. There's no strong or fast right now if that is the case. Littleton might have this covered, which would be nice. But if there are volunteers needed, I'll just send out a volunteer form. And as a reminder, no one ever has to feel obligated to volunteer. It's just an opportunity that's out there.
Where's it gonna be this year?
Same as last year, the A1 Organics location, which is in Sheridan.
Yep.
What does volunteering at that look like? You just help unload leaves?
Mike was
Little
actually
sweat
there
equity.
last year.
The cars come in
Yeah.
and you sort of guide them around the path, and then there's a drop off, and there's than a big pile of leaves. So then you help them pull their bags out of their trunk, their pickup truck. It's some physical work. It gets tiring after a while, but you want to move through fast. So you have to open up the bags, which is the hardest part, frankly, ripping the bags
Tie
open.
incredible knots.
You dump them out. They love the help, people bringing it in. And in years gone by, we had lines and lines of cars. Last year, they spaced it out over 2 or 3 days. So the day I went, there were not lines and lines of cars. There were just a handful. And there were city employees from Littleton who said to me, and I don't know, there's another person with me, and they said, you guys from Englewood can go home, we got this covered. So you tell us if they need, I will go if they need the help, because I kind of enjoy it, but it is work.
I enjoy it.
I mean, you do get dirty, I mean, there's dust and everything, but you can really see the effort. You can see the pile of leaves, and it's pretty cool to watch all the machinery and everything, so. And you could do it for an hour. You don't have to do it for 4 hours. Okay, you plug in, you can come in and leave, so.
Cool. So,
This always falls over my anniversary weekend or else I would be there, but I'll reach out
sure.
to Littleton. I'll reach out to Littleton folks. And then the final one, this isn't Englewood, but your neighbor. So Sheridan, we passed our first ever sustainability plan on September 25th. There's some partnership projects in there that deal with Englewood, but yeah, huge win for
Congrats, Mel.
our
That's
neighboring
great.
community.
Good job, Mel.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting ideas for November.
I do have one thing for this. So we are near completed with our low income energy efficiency outreach strategy. So for the next meeting, it's going to be me going over that plan with you all to get your feedback, what you like, what you want changed. And then it's going to be taken to city council after that. So it's really important to get all of your feedback. And that'll take probably about 20 to max 30 minutes.
So that's should be on the agenda.
Yes, yeah.
Any other thoughts of something we need to discuss or ponder?
Mel, could you pull it up, the deadline for content for the spring magazine? I think it's in January. If we can make headway,
That would be.
I'd love to run some of the raw content draft and just
great.
work to kind of get that to a finalized place. I just want to stay ahead of the ball because these timelines come and go quickly.
Did you get from Chris an agenda? At the SEAC meeting, we talked with him about providing a timeline of when things need to be done for the magazine. Have you seen anything?
I sent that to Logan.
Yep.
So I sent that to the
Okay,
communications
so it does
subcommittee.
exist.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
It
just-
exists. I was just asking her to pull it up because I forget off the top of my head. But yes, I have a year timeline for magazine deadlines.
I love the communications strategy because it helps us focus. I mean, it really does bring us to earth and say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to talk about. And before too long, you're going to want to be looking at spring. I mean, so I really think it's valuable to be thinking ahead like this. And
We have a good subcommittee.
yeah, thank you, subcommittee. That's
Yeah,
great.
seriously.
So there's 2 pretty good items right there for November.
Yeah, absolutely.
Public forum. Anybody from the public or in the room that wants to say
Jessica,
anything?
any thoughts? Any thoughts on how we run the show here? Initial feedback?
The only thing I had a suggestion for was actually when we were going everything with John's presentation, was just, I don't know if it's something that's been done because I'm relatively new to the area, but just, honestly, the power of an ad campaign and getting it out there, because I'm sure there's a lot of people new to the area that had no idea. I personally had no idea there was a trolley out here.
Yeah.
And just putting out there like, hey, there is public transportation that you should use, and then, yeah, like, saving on gas and cutting down, because we know how high that the summer prices spike. So any way we could get people out of cars and doing ride sharing and just, again, letting people know out that, like, people know that are new to the area, because that's a huge population of people that probably just had no idea it existed.
Yeah, because a lot of the buses are pretty plain, some of them, like plain white. And so, yeah, they might not notice them. And then you're right, there's all sorts of new people popping into town all the time. And so, yeah, they just might not be aware.
Especially like I love going to downtown Englewood, so something like knowing I could catch a bus to go there or something, or take a trolley or something, instead of having, I think you mentioned like how much they price gouge trying to catch an Uber at like peak times, like it's ridiculous. So I think that's a campaigning towards the younger crowd as well, and I mean, you know, it goes both ways, campaigning towards the younger crowd and the older crowd, making it work both ways that it would catch both people's eyes.
I hope the study can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Real quick, did you, with our conversation with John, you brought up the electrification? Did I hear you say that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that'll be a part of that study?
Yes, we want to look at the technologies like that. Yeah, trying to move to something cleaner. And who knows?
Instead of diesel.
Yeah.
Please. Do you know if most of, or a portion of Denver's fleet are electric? Or at least the ones along the 16th Street Mall or downtown? I mean, they sound electric.
Yeah,
They
Most
drive
of
by
them
me.
are. I
Most
work on the mall and most of them
Yeah.
stay electric and they're super quiet.
Just curious.
I saw an Amazon truck the other day that was electric.
Yeah,
which was
there's
pretty
quite a
cool.
few.
There's a company in Longmont that retrofits vehicles too, and they put a
Is it
electric
Lightning
chassis
e-motors?
underneath. So there is a local retrofit company here that's fairly well known.
They do
Yeah,
school
cool.
buses too.
Yeah, we're kind of actually, one of our interests also is looking at just in general, smaller vehicles.
Right.
Because we think they could be faster up and down.
I think that's
More nimble.
a good idea.
Yeah, and yeah, we don't,
E-bikes, right?
we think a little bit smaller vehicle
Crazy.
we could still serve people just as well. And that would lend itself more to an electric.
Cool. All right, thank you, sir. Staff choice. Your staff, you gotta choose.
I got nada.
You got
Give my
it.
update.
Commissioner's choice. Joe, what you got? Anything?
No real updates. No council meeting Monday. I'm still here.
What did you do? Congratulations.
Joe.
Yeah.
Good to have you, Joe. Okay, if everybody's cool, calm, and collected, I move we adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot.
If that's Stephen Strawbridge, let's note that he was present.
I was about to
Steven.
ask if Stephen guessed as Stephen Strawbridge.
Pretty quiet up there, Steve.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks for
Thank
joining us, Jessica. Brandon.
John, that
Thank you
was
for having
fast.
us.
Thank you. Really good.
Tell me, guys. 7:38. That might be the earliest you've ever finished.
Good.
Hi, everybody.
Talk about all the fun stuff. That's right. Transportation.
Thank you.
Right. Right, Rick. Godspeed up.
We just come up with money for
Winter coats.
Yeah, it's all about money.
I know.